Minh Thúy xin kính chào quý vị hôm nay thứ Sáu, 17 tháng 5, 2024. Đến với VATV hôm nay gồm có phỏng vấn đặc biệt và nhạc lá bồ đề. Kính thưa quý vị, toàn thế giới đã nhận định rằng Mỹ thất bại ở Việt Nam. Nhưng phải nhìn sự thất bại đó theo lăng kính nào để rút ra những kinh nghiệm và bài học đáng giá. Minh Thúy mời quý vị theo dõi sự suy nghĩ và giải thích của ông Lacy Wright đối với sự đánh giá toàn thể nỗ lực của miền Nam Việt Nam và nỗ lực của Mỹ trong phần 8 phỏng vấn đặc biệt do Phan Lê Dũng, Võ Thành Nhân và Minh Thúy thực hiện.
But now looking back at all of the American involvement in Vietnam, what's your judgment on it? With your time invested and with all the projects going on and with all the things that the American has been doing, was it worth it?
Well, we failed. It was worth doing, but we failed. We can't get away from that. Now, there's another question. I don't think that's the end of it, just to say we failed. I think it's, and this is being done a lot now, as you know. People are looking back now. Historians are looking back at South Vietnam and asking the question, what were its failures and successes? And I think that's a very useful thing to be doing. I think there's some real material there that ought to be more widely known and brought to light. There's the land reform program, which is due to President Thieu, and which was never reversed. The communists tried to reverse it and could not. There were the infrastructure that we left there. That's good for people. Let's leave the government out of it for a second. That's good for people. Electrification, schools, all of this stuff is now benefiting people. Unfortunately, it's distorted a bit by the way that the current government is using it in some instances, but still, it's there. It's something that the government did, and more deeply, I think it gave people, the people of South Vietnam, at least those who were paying attention to this kind of thing, an alternative to the communist rule, a different way of looking at things. Now, to what degree this is operative now in South Vietnam, that's a very good question. The communists, of course, have tried to undo that kind of thinking. They try in every way they can to rewrite history. But anyway, it's there, and so I think, and then of course, you also have the way that the Vietnamese who left Vietnam, the exodus from Vietnam, the refugee exodus, what they have done in the world where they landed, right here in Orange County. And they are a big success in our country. They are a voice now to be heard in our country and in other countries. So once you look at all of that, you can't just say we suffered defeat. You have to include all of it, all of the things that happened. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I would like to tell you, if we can go back a little bit to talk about what Foreign Service officers thought when we went to Vietnam. As I told you, we were, most of us, reluctant to go. We went because we were told to go. And we served our time there, and those tours were mostly short tours, only a year and a half, so they came back. But then in near the end of 1972, the government, State Department, sent a lot of us back to Vietnam. And I guess they wanted to see, they wanted reporting on how the peace agreement was being implemented. So I guess they thought, well, we can't, that makes no sense to send new people. We have to send the people that we've already sent.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, how are we going to do that? We've already asked them to go to Vietnam once.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to ask them to go to Vietnam again? So they created this program. And it said, if you go, you get 25% more than your salary. You only have to go for 6 months. You can take an R&R in the middle of your time there, go anywhere in the world you want, but this is not a volunteer situation. If you're called, you have to go. So then they sent out these letters to me and to hundreds of other people, and what they found was everybody wanted to go back to Vietnam. They had no trouble in getting people to return to Vietnam. And I think the reasons are probably many, but I think maybe the strongest reason is that people who went to Vietnam the first time became converted to the cause of the South Vietnamese.
Was that the case for you?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a lot of doubt when you came in, but you have a lot of faith when you went out.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
In fact, I was in a way pleased to go back. I was not married then. I was pleased to go back because I thought I can make up for all the mistakes I made the first time.
You were
I'm
still
not
hopeful.
sure I did, but
So you were still hopeful that the whatever you did before, there's a continuation and it's going to grow in a good direction. Was
Yeah.
what you have in mind when you came back to.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
1972 you were talking about, right? 1972 you came back. 1972 you said.
No, I came back at the beginning of '73.
73.
Yeah.
Okay. Right after the Paris Agreement.
Right at the time that, in fact, I think it was January of '73. Along with many other of my Foreign Service comrades.
Do you still think a lot about the time that you spent in Vietnam?
Sure, we all do. Yeah, yeah, we all think about Vietnam. And in fact, I've been back to Vietnam 4 times since the end of the war, 2 times on delegations looking at refugees.
Looking at refugee.
Well, looking into to be more specific, I worked for a while with the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and we went to Vietnam on one occasion to look at the situation of the Montagnards, who were being very badly treated by the communist regime, the Hanoi regime, and who were escaping, often by walking across Cambodia to get to Thailand. So this was becoming, in itself, a problem that needed some attention. So we went to Vietnam, 4 or 5 of us, to talk to the authorities there and see what the situation was. That was one time. And then another time, I went with a small group of Catholic bishops. They were really on a trip to meet with their counterparts in Vietnam, but I was along to look at refugees. So those were the 2 times that, and see what the situation with refugees was. So those are the 2 times that I was there in that guise. And then the other 2 times I went, I was just a tourist and went to different parts of the country.
Kính mời quý vị đón xem phần chính, cũng là phần cuối phỏng vấn đặc biệt với ông Lacy Wright, nhân viên cao cấp của Sở Ngoại vụ, sẽ được phát hình vào tối thứ Sáu, ngày 24 tháng 5, 2024.